Okay, how many of you were just impressed with what Miriam just did? Huh? Show of hands. That was amazing, Miriam. Thank you so much. So I want to actually play a little bit off of what she talked about. I showed autofill. Remember, you're putting in the information, you know it's good, and then you're saying set it up and run it. It's almost sort of like a mini version of the user script. It's obviously just based on your fields. Talked about Control D to repeat that field above, and how you can clone the line that you're on with the appropriate fields to speed up your data entry. I was reading some of the notes. So you have messy databases, I understand? Who doesn't have a messy database? It happens. So, you know, if you can figure out how to sort your list, and by the way, Control D works on any field. So you can do that in multiple places. You can clean up your composer names, your conductors. Pronunciations, I think, is the big one, because you don't want to have some weird stray pronunciation in there and have that somehow get on the air. So Control D is just going to repeat it. Oh gosh, I goofed. I didn't want to do that. Control Z undoes it. So you can get back to where it was if you didn't want to do that. Control Z will undo as long as you stay in library maintenance. If I close it, it loses that sort of history that it's holding of that information. So as I briefly looked at some of the things on the on your lists, there were a couple things I wanted to touch on in the library before we go to clocks. There was a question about attributes. Attributes are characteristics your data has. And you can have as many of these as you want. Sometimes I see people who have, remember I talked to you about I had that field called form? Some people I see have that in, you know, all in one place. You could have one attribute field as long as there were enough codes, you could put it all in there. I'm a little too anal for that, so I like it all separate and distinct. So I have a field for form, a field for nationality. Those are what we call attributes. And we build that based on what you want to do. So it could be a field like nationality where you want to pick one, or maybe you want to give that more than one. I actually had a customer, you know, who wanted a nationality field, but they wanted to be what we call a multiple field, where they could put more than one entry. And I was like, how could someone have two different origins? And they went, well, you know, they spent a formative time here, and then they spent a formative time there. That was important to them. I went, okay, great, yeah, we can do that. And so we can make it where you only put one code in, multiple codes. It can have a numeric value, which I know may or may not work well in classical, but I know we have some other non-classical people here where speed, tempo, that's the kind of thing. It's considered an attribute, a characteristic. So at that particular point, you have a drop down, and that's where all mine are listed. Form, instrumentation. I'm going to go down to nationality because I think that one's fun. Yes, I really did code my library for this. They're all there. And you go, what the heck are you going to do with that? Well, I decided, and by the way, notice the scroll bar, so there's a few more down there you can't even see. You have all the capital letters of the alphabet, lowercase letters of the alphabet, numbers, all the weird numbers on characters on your keyboard. And you got more than enough to choose from. I'm like, what are you going to do with that? Well, I decided I've got so much music in my database that if I play a Brazilian work, I really shouldn't have to play one for a while. And so it's a real subtle thing. Do I make German and Austrian and some of those more popular nationalities have less? Yes, I do. But for most people, I can put in a rule because I've got this now. And so again, the attributes that you need in your database, these are things, this is again talking about what do you need to accomplish what you want. So David Covey, begin with the end in mind. What is it that you want to accomplish? I want to make sure I don't play too many German composers back to back to back. Okay, well somewhere we've got to have a code in your database that says this is German. And then you have to code that. And then again, we can use autofill, once we've done that, to make that go real quick. We never have to do it again. So your attribute can be anything you want. Sky's the limit, imagination. You know, when you call us, again, begin with the end in mind. Tell us what you want to accomplish because that will help us determine what kind of field you want. In this case, most of the attributes are tested. which means you'll find that same field over in the rule tree, and then you'll be able to turn that rule on and accomplish something.